What's up, guys, and welcome to the Men's Empowerment Network podcast, episode 1. So this podcast has been a long time coming, and ever since I launched Men's Empowerment Network, I've always thought it would be really, really cool to launch a podcast to go along with it. And, so many things came in front of actually doing the work to launching this podcast. And if I'm going to be honest with you, a lot of it was unproductive shit. I would always find something to put in front of it, whether it be, effort producing, whether it just be kind of laziness, to be really honest. I love my Netflix documentaries. And, when the idea of, I should sit down and do this podcast, and then I'm scrolling through Netflix and I find something really interesting, all of a sudden, suddenly the podcast kind of takes a back seat. But here I am. I am here. I am doing it. And, it will probably be rough at first. I'm going to give you a fair warning because I have never done anything like this. I have never hosted or produced a podcast in my life. And another element of it was fear. To be quite frank, I was really worried about, what people would think. Would it be good enough? I have a tendency to be a perfectionist, or at least I think that I'm a perfectionist, which, ultimately just kind of pushes things aside until years go by and I don't do anything with it. And so, I am really working to change that aspect of my life, and really committing to doing the things that I believe will help not only me move forward, but also help guys around the world improve their life and, create monumental change in their life so that they can create greater happiness, greater joy, greater success, more financial freedom, and all of these other things that we really have as goals in our lives. And so why not start now? It's crazy. But anyway, I thought I would use this first episode as kind of an introduction as to what men's empowerment is, what Men's Empowerment Network stands for, what we hope to achieve with not only this podcast, but with the website and with the coaching programs and, all of the other elements that I really have rattling around in my head that I'm finally starting to commit to and finally starting to push the needle on, as well as what it is not. It's really important, I think, to have a very clear understanding of what this podcast, what this company is all about, and what it's not, you know? And, I'd really like to outline some of the goals that I have for this podcast, as well as the Men's Empowerment Network. And who knows, maybe an introduction into who I am. I guess it would kind of make sense to know who your host is. And that will all come in time. I will always be honest and frank with you about my education, my experience, different things that I've done in my life. And all of that will come out as the podcast episodes proceed. So, what I'd like to start out with is what Men's Empowerment Network is not. And I want to be very clear and very frank that this is not a podcast or a company that focuses on the degradation of women. We are not in the business of putting other people down in order to empower ourselves. And that not only goes for women, but also the LGBTQ community, the African American community, or any other communities that are working to empower themselves or better themselves in life. I simply focus on men because, well, I'm a dude. And, I really see that there is a huge need in empowering men emotionally, physically, financially, spiritually, to really help them rise up to ultimately not only become a better version of themselves, but also a better contributor to human nature as a whole. Another thing that Men's Empowerment Network is not, it's not a space where we're going to be stroking the male ego. Sorry. That's not something that I'm really into. I don't believe that we can foster and harbor growth by stroking our own egos. I mean, that doesn't do anything to move the needle forward, to push us past our comfort zone and into new challenges. And I was a huge egomaniac. I will be the first one to tell you, and I guarantee you, I can line up countless people to justify or to justify that fact. Huge ego. I didn't think I needed to change. I didn't think I needed to grow in any sort of aspect. I thought I knew it all. And sometimes life kicks you in the ass, and then you come to the realization that you need to change in order to grow, to move forward, to prosper, and to ultimately become a better man, a better human being, a better person in this world. And, it is not a place to foster or develop that male superiority ideology. And, I do not believe that men are any better than women, transgenders, any other groups. We'll just leave it at that. I don't believe in a superior race. I do not believe in a superior gender. I do not believe in superiority, period. Doesn't matter how much money you have. Doesn't matter your status in life, what your profession is, what color you are, what gender you are. None of that. It doesn't matter, because we're all on our own journey, and we are all just ultimately trying to move in a similar direction. And so I really believe there is strength in empowering each other. And that means not only empowering men, but also empowering people of different cultures, different backgrounds, different religions, different sexes, different, races, whatever. We're all in this together, and we all need each other, not only as a reflection of ourselves, but also as inspiration and aspiration to be better. So that's what Men's Empowerment Network is not. So what the hell is it? What the hell is Men's Empowerment Network? Well, I'd like to form a community of dudes who inspire and motivate each other to constantly improve themselves, not only as individuals, but as men as a whole. I believe that if we, boost each other up instead of trying to tear each other down all the time, then all of us collectively will move forward. It just makes sense. And, they say rising tides raise the ship, or whatever the quote may be. Sorry, not a philosopher here, but I really believe that the collective nature is vital in moving us as men forward to produce more wealth, to produce more prosperity, to produce a greater connection with our spirituality, and form stronger relationships, not only amongst us as men, but amongst everyone, whether you have a wife or a girlfriend, your friends, your partner, whatever the case may be, really empowering, inspiring, and motivating each other to create and harness those beautiful relationships that we're trying to form with each other. I'd also like to create this as a space to share challenges. Men have common challenges that everyone else has. That's no secret. That's no mind-blowing revelation or anything like that. But then we also have challenges that are very specific to men. And I'd like to create a space where we can talk about all of that, because men have ultimately been given the stereotype that, we're supposed to internalize these challenges and deal with this shit on our own. But I think we can see from, modern society that really isn't the best course of action. And it certainly doesn't propel us forward as quickly as it does when we can come together, pose challenges to each other, and really work in a collective mindset, a mastermind, if you will, to produce actionable, information, actionable, challenges, actionable steps in order to overcome those obstacles, overcome those challenges, and really work harmoniously to help each other through those. And I know I mentioned some of those stereotypes, but Men's Empowerment Network is meant to be a place where dudes can shake off those stereotypes and, all of those expectations that they've been carrying around on their shoulders for, well, basically since the dawn of time, ever since man started walking this earth. He was supposed to be the supplier. He was supposed to be the strong one. He was supposed to, internalize all of his emotions, all of his feelings, and, bury everything down. But ultimately, and clearly, what we have seen not only through science, but through statistics and everything like that, that all that does is increase the negative impact on mental health. It increases the percentage of suicide rates amongst men. It increases, so many negative aspects in life: depression, anxiety, physical ailments, weight gain, problems with your bank account, spiritual demoralization, broken relationships. And it's all because we believe that these stereotypes are the archetype that a man must obtain to in order to be considered a man. This is a space where we can drop that guard. We can drop that shield. We can let go of that armor and talk about real shit that affects every single one of us on a daily basis. And I'd like to create an avenue where men can build greater confidence in themselves, where they can create more joy and fulfillment in their life, and that they ultimately can be a success in their own mind. Instead of this chasing in the rat race and, just kind of spinning your wheels. And then ultimately at the end of the day, looking back at your life and you're like, what the fuck? This shit sucks. Life is not fun. Life is not enjoyable. No, that's not what life is meant to be. We go out into work and, we're in the rat race and we're trying to get ahead and we're clawing and fighting, stepping over each other and, bashing anyone along the way who gets in our path. And ultimately, when we look back, we're miserable. No, why? This is a place where I want to harness joy and peace and love and compassion for each other so that we all can succeed in various aspects of our life. So, what are the primary goals of the Men's Empowerment Network podcast? Well, my primary goal is to empower men to create greater success in 4 areas of their life, 4 primary pillars that I really focus on. And that's financial, relationships, spirituality, and health. And, I think the financial is pretty self-explanatory. So many of us have been, duped into what has been perceived as the American dream. We've been brainwashed by, commercialism and things like that. And we keep chasing our tails and never getting ahead financially. Well, that ends here. You know, it's okay to go out and get something cool if you want it, if it brings you joy, but you don't need to do it at the expense of, now how the fuck am I going to pay rent and shit like that. And this podcast is going to teach you and coach you on the different financial elements that you were deprived of learning in school, from your parents, from your friends, from your clergymen, from everyone else in society. So stick around if you are, looking to make some financial gains, to become more secure, more confident in your financial life, because that is a serious pillar in the Men's Empowerment Network. And then we focus on relationships. Relationships are key in life. They spawn greater happiness, greater fulfillment, more enjoyment in life. But generally, dudes don't know how to communicate right. They don't know how to express what they're feeling or a lot of times what they're thinking, or how to receive information and process it in a way that makes cohesive sense to where they're having active communication. And so many relationships break down because of the lack of communication. Believe me, I've experienced this firsthand. Trust me, it hasn't been pretty, some of the conversations that I've gotten into because of miscommunication. But that's not the only thing. But and that has to do with relationships, building up that confidence so that you can actually go out and meet new people, how to find people that you really are able to connect with, whether it be other guys, whether it be women, whether it be whatever. And really building solid, instrumental, and positive relationships. Some of us are stuck in toxic relationships with a partner, with a spouse, with a girlfriend, with a boyfriend, with friends. And we allow that toxicity to remain around us because that's where we're comfortable. That's what we know. And, through this podcast, one of the elements in building relationships is making sure that they're positive, that they influence you to become a better person. Spirituality is another pillar of the Men's Empowerment Network. And this was something that I personally put on the back burner for many, many, many years. I didn't really find a need for creating a spiritual connection to what I call the universe. You might call God, you might call Allah, you might call whatever your higher power is. I put it on the back burner, and for years I carried around an emptiness inside my soul. And it's because I never focused on, creating a stronger relationship with my place, with my purpose, with the universe around me, and really tackled those existential questions that plague us for most of our lives. And then, of course, health. And this is monumental. Not only physical health, because I know a lot of guys, and myself included, when we think of health, we only think of the physical. We go to gym, we work out, we eat healthy. When something's broken, we might go to the doctor, and that was our mindset. But thankfully, within the past decade or so, mental health has really come to the forefront of something that needs to be addressed. And that is so, so true in men. If men, aren't self-aware, then they could very well be suffering from some sort of mental condition, mental illness that is really holding them back and really um, restraining them to becoming the man that they were ultimately meant to become. And, you know, uh, I've tackled with this myself. You know, I've seen therapists. I've gone to the doctor, and while I haven't specifically been diagnosed with any sort of mental illness, I know that I suffer from you know, bouts of depression every once in a while, anxiety, stress, and since this is a podcast where I believe in being open and honest, I suffer from alcoholism. It's something that has plagued me for 2 decades now. And fortunately, I'm currently, you know, on a path where I can control that. But that hasn't always been the case. And I have completely blown up my life because of those mental, you know, mental disparities going on in my head. And it's crazy, you know, and like physical, like emotions, you know, we have a tendency to just stuff it down and hope either it'll go away or that we can just control it until one day we can't. One day we can't. And then we're just kind of wondering what the fuck is going on. And 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 then we're at a loss. Then where do we where do we turn to now? Where do we go? What's happening? Why is all this shit going on in my head? What? And then it starts coming out, and eventually it will come out. You know, in this podcast, we'll tackle past traumas, and we'll tackle you know the deep rooted issues. And I want to be very clear that I am not a therapist. I am not a psychiatrist. I am not a psychologist. And so I will never diagnose someone as having any sort of condition. That is not up to me. But you know, I can certainly help you know guys get through it. Because I've experienced it. And one of the other goals that I have for the Men's Empowerment Network podcast is to bring on other dudes to have conversations with and get to know them. And we're talking professionals, and so that we can get, you know, really specific, really fact-based information to help us in our finances, in our spirituality, in our health, and in our relationships. But then on the flip side, I also want to talk to just cool dudes, get to know them. You know, what's their perspective on life? How do they look at things? What challenges are they facing? How can we get them from where they're at to where they want to be in the 4 pillars of life? Of course, again, financial, relationships, spirituality, and health, you know, and really dive deep into these dudes. Sorry. That may have come out wrong. But you know, really dive into their lives and take it from there. Just have an open and honest conversation. And that's really what we're trying to do here. And then, of course, raise awareness on the importance of empowering men. And on a personal note, one of the main reasons that I am creating this podcast, as well as the Men's Empowerment Network, is because I really see it as a need. You know, women have been empowering themselves for decades. And the way I see it, you know, they have come such a long way in gender equality, in pay equality, in all of these different equalities, which is awesome. Please don't get me wrong. I think that is fucking amazing. You know, for women to stand together in a single cause to create change for their gender that is the very definition of awe-inspiring and motivating and empowering. Now, with that, and with Black Lives Matter, with the LGBTQ community, rising up and wanting equality for themselves, I should say ourselves. Another point about myself is I'm a gay dude, and I'm very proud of my community, my LGBTQ community, and I'm very proud of the progress that has been made, and I feel very blessed to be a part of it. But aside from that, I really see that men as a gender have fallen far, far behind the progress that has been made by these other groups. We are stuck in, carrying those male stereotypes, that masculine ideology, and it's done nothing but withhold us and restrain us from being productive, inspiring, motivating members of society. And that really is what Men's Empowerment Network is in a nutshell. It's about creating a community of empowered men who ultimately want to create a better world, not only for themselves, but for everyone else around them. And I mean, if I had to put it into an elevator pitch, that would probably be close. I'd probably need to tweak it a little bit. That was kind of I kind of tripped over everything and whatnot, but maybe I'll have to do that in a minute or in a little bit. One of those other things that needs to happen, but I'll probably find something else that I would rather do. But ultimately, I mean, that really is the mission. And I started Men's Empowerment Network, I don't know, I think about 3 years ago. It started with some videos and a blog post. And to be quite frank, it hasn't gone anywhere. I initially began this company as a coaching program, where I would have individual and group coaching sessions and help other dudes, within the 4 pillars of Men's Empowerment Network. And I would write a blog post every once in a while. I would shoot a video every once in a while. But honestly, I really put other things ahead of it, whether it be my job, whether it be the gym, whether it be Netflix, whatever the case may be. And I did not give it the focus that it deserved, and B, that I really wanted to give to it. And a lot of that stemmed from fear. A lot of it did. I've always had a fear of being judged, as I think a lot of dudes do. A fear of rejection, which I believe a lot of dudes do. And because of those fears, I procrastinated. I procrastinated for years in actually getting serious with it. And, I built a website. I created a financial course. And, honestly, it really hasn't gone anywhere. None of it has gone anywhere because I have been inconsistent and I haven't given it the energy and the focus that it needs in order to prosper and grow. And so I'm currently in a situation where I am motivated, I am inspired, and I've changed my mindset around the intentions of Men's Empowerment Network. Honestly, in the very beginning, I went into this as a way to make money. And that was the driving factor in creating Men's Empowerment Network. I mean, why would I put a bunch of energy, a bunch of time into something if I wasn't going to get paid for it? And that ultimately was my motive for creating it. Fortunately, over the past 6 months or so, my mindset has actually started to shift. And while the Men's Empowerment Network has been in the back of my mind for years, it slowly started coming towards the forefront as something to contribute to the world that could potentially, create a positive ripple effect. And so my mindset has started to shift from the financial drive to more of the service drive. Now, that doesn't mean that, I won't be, creating courses and creating coaching programs and creating retreats, which of course will cost money, but that will kind of be more of the cherry on top. I ultimately, I want to create something that I can be proud of, that I can be a part of and help inspire and motivate others to go on and ultimately create a more enriched life for themselves. And that's where I'm at today. And I feel good about it. Is life perfect right now? Nope. No, it certainly isn't, but I don't know that it ever will be. And I'm okay with that, which is a good feeling in itself because, I was talking about anxiety and fear and depression. I would quite frequently get stressed out and just overwhelmed with the chaos of life in general, not having enough money, not being in relationships, not having a spiritual connection, not being in great health, all of those things would just send me into a crazy spiral of anxiety and frustration. But they don't so much anymore. And well, primarily because I'm working in every single one of those categories, and I've made dramatic improvements over the past couple of years in each one of those categories. So I see the progress that has been made. But even if, I kind of lost everything today, I don't know that I would kind of tailspin into it because, I know what I need to do. And I feel like I'm kind of rambling right now, but the point that I was trying to make was I've shifted from a very individual focus, a very egotistical focus, into wanting to be more of service. And so you might be asking yourself, who is this guy? He hasn't even said his name yet. Well, fair point. Fair point. I mean, why the hell should you listen to me? Just some dude on your streaming service with a podcast who actually doesn't even have a podcast. This is his very first podcast. My name's Joshua Abel. My name's Joshua Abel, and I'm 42 years old. I'm originally from the Midwest, and I've always had kind of an entrepreneurial spirit. When I was 20 years old, I left my home and in rural Missouri and booked it to Los Angeles to try and make it as an actor. And I tell you what, there is nothing more empowering than, having a goal and going for it. And while I didn't get the fame and fortune that, I set out to, the life enrichment that I received while in Los Angeles was priceless, to be quite frank. I had never been around so many different cultures, so many different people of different backgrounds, so many different languages, so many different types of food, and just all of the learning experiences of being on my own in Los Angeles and making it, and going on auditions and meeting actors and movie stars and things like that. And it was just so incredible. And I got hunger for that entrepreneurial, drive. And, I went to film school in Hawaii. And, then I met someone who was absolutely incredible. And we moved to Florida. We were together for 8 years. He's one of the most amazing dudes I've ever had the privilege of being connected with. We're not together anymore, but we still have a very strong friendship. And that is a friendship that I absolutely value almost more than anything else in this world. I absolutely value that friendship. And, I had mentioned the alcoholism. It is something that I've battled with for about 2 decades now. And, I'd go into a recovery program. I'd have some good recovery, and then I'd go back out and then come back in and go back out and come back in. And that has been the roller coaster of my life, for about 15 years now. And right now I'm in a recovery program. I currently have over 4 months of sobriety, but every time in sobriety, I have grown exponentially. And I've been on a path of personal development for about 10 years now. And I've gone through courses, I've gone through coaching programs, I've gone through educational programs, and I attribute a lot of the successes that I have in my life because I took what I learned, I took what I was coached on, and I implemented it. And today I'm finding more peace. I'm finding more peace and joy. I'm finding more happiness in the small things in life. And with that, I've also been able to make huge strides in my financial situation. There was a point where I was so broke, I was literally being evicted from my apartment. My car had been repossessed, and I was practically homeless. If it hadn't had been for my youngest sister who took me in, I would have been sleeping under a bridge because I had nowhere else to go. And I pulled myself out of that and into a very comfortable life. And the journey has just been so incredible. But even before that, I was always struggling with money. I was never ahead. I was always behind. I was writing checks my ass couldn't cash, and, living on credit cards, living paycheck to paycheck, drowning in debt. And it was always such a stressful way to live until, I started on that journey of personal development. One of the aspects, of course, was financial. How do you manage money? How do you make money work for you? I enjoyed that path so much. I went forth and I got a master's degree in finance, in personal finance. And then I turned around and I started coaching people on how to improve their financial situation. I worked as a financial planner for several years, and I helped families not only, pay off debts, but also start building a savings and building a retirement and investigating investments and things like that. Sidebar, I do not hold a CFP, that's Certified Financial Planner certification. And I do not have any series certifications, Series 7, Series 6, things like that, that a financial advisor would have. And so I will never, throughout this podcast, give you specific stocks to look for. I will never tell you to invest your money here or there, because that is unethical. And quite frankly, the people who are doing that on television, I would honestly take a second look at what they are, what they're telling you to invest in, because chances are they probably have already invested in it and they're looking to drive those prices up so that their portfolio can go up. Just a word to the wise. If you are we will definitely talk about finances in this podcast because it's one of my favorite topics. But again, I will never give you specific investments in which to put your money. Unless, of course, I decide to go get one of those certifications and have legal grounds to do so. But at this current state, I do not. But if that changes, I will certainly let you know. But I do have the credentials. I have gone through the schooling. I have worked with people to help them get from a place of despair into a place of more prosperity. And I've done it myself. And then, through my journey of alcoholism and life, I've broken a lot of relationships, and I have had periods where I have been utterly and completely alone. And a lot of that had to do with a lack of self-confidence. A lot of that had to do, well, with alcoholism. And, I really didn't feel worthy to have anyone's company. There's an old joke, and I think it's not Woody Allen. It's I forget who said it, but here's another one of those quotes that I don't know where it came from. I don't want to be a part of a club that would have me as a member. And that's really how I felt for a good majority of my life. Fortunately, after having gone through and am still going through the process of personal development, I've been able to branch out. I've been able to really centralize my inner circle with people who lift me up and who I lift them up. It's a symbiotic relationship. We feed off each other. We help each other. We inspire and motivate each other. And ultimately, we give each other strength. And, through this journey, I've, had romantic relationships. I've had platonic relationships. I've been able to strengthen my relationships with my family, which has been incredible. And, I'm very fortunate to have gone along this process and am still going along on it. Every single day, I'm learning something new. I'm reading something new. I'm listening to something new, something that inspires me, motivates me, gives me a different perspective on what I'm thinking, what I'm feeling, and things like that. And speaking of feelings, I was one of those dudes that would push all of those emotions, all of those feelings down, 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 down until, I would explode, until I would just rage. And it was not a pretty picture. And, that's one of the reasons that I used alcohol. It was kind of a little release valve. I'd get built up and built up and built up and built up. And then all of a sudden, I could take some Jack Daniels, take some vodka, whatever the case may be at the time, and release. Just kind of let some of that tension go. But I've learned to be able to do that without the use of other substances, which is amazing. And, I know from personal experience, guys have such a hard time with this, with really facing those emotions, with how to handle those emotions, with how to express those emotions, as I did. I'll never forget one time I got so frustrated. I was in college. I punched the wall. What a stupid thing to do. All it did was hurt my hand and leave a small hole in the wall that I had to later fix. The hell? Doesn't make any damn sense. Sure didn't make me feel good. Let me tell you that. Well, all right, let's be honest. Just made me feel a little better. But then I look at the hole in the wall and my near broken knuckle, and I'm like, fuck. What a dumb thing to do. Getting a hold, getting proactive about those emotions. And of course, over these past 10 years, spirituality has become more of a focus on myself. And I have really attributed my ability to stay calm, stay chill, stay relaxed to the spiritual practices that I've implemented in my life. And I am not a religious person. I went to Lutheran church when I was young, but I could not connect with it. And to be quite frank, I actually acquired a disdain for organized religion. For me, I have, my youngest sister is a devout Southern Baptist. And I not only give her props, but I'm kind of in awe. I'm in awe of someone who has such blind faith and such devotion to an organization that, they just know, they believe that's the right thing to do. That's the right thing for them to do. And, I have a lot of respect for that and appreciation. But my friends, that is the Men's Empowerment Network. And, I got to tell you, I was really kind of walking back and forth, kind of pacing back and forth before sitting down in front of this microphone. And should I do it? Should I not do it? What's on Netflix? Maybe I should eat something first. Maybe I should maybe I should take a nap first. Just putting all of these other things in front of it. But I got to tell you guys, I don't even know how long this recording has gone on, but I feel so much better having done it. And, this could be the start of something very, very cool. And I really hope you got value out of this. I'm super stoked to see where this could go. And I really hope you are too. So if you're a dude who's, maybe feeling kind of stuck, maybe feeling kind of lonely, maybe frustrated with the way that life has been going, it's okay. We're in this together, guys. And, I really, really hope that maybe this will give you some motivation, some inspiration, some education, some sort of insightful words to, take that small step forward and, start moving in the direction that you see yourself as being more happy, more peaceful, and more full of life. I mean, my mom recently passed away, and I've been thinking about my own mortality for quite a few years now. Well, probably since I hit 40. That issue of mortality and what's my place in the world and what kind of legacy am I going to leave behind has slowly started to become a more powerful thought in my head. And maybe this is it. Who knows? But the only way to find out is to be consistent and do the work, right? Well, I hope you got value out of this. If you did, my friends, please make sure to subscribe, share this podcast. I haven't even decided what days I'm going to throw this up on. I guess I'll probably start, 1 day a week. We'll start out slow and just kind of build on it from there. And let's say Mondays. Seems like as a good a day as any, right? All right. So look for this podcast on Mondays. If you want to follow the podcast, I'm going to throw it up on YouTube. And then also I'm on TikTok. There's a Facebook group and the website, all of it Men's Empowerment Network. So, if you want to connect, I'm totally down. Hit me up on TikTok or, through the Facebook group. That's something else I actually need to be more consistent at. So there's a lot of things to do, right? There's a lot of stuff that I need to do. But what's really cool is with this new perspective, I'm looking forward to it rather than looking at it as a have to, that's a cool shift. That's a really, really cool shift. And I want to thank you for being a part of it. So, all right, gents, I guess until next Monday. Cheers.